So if your homeschool feels like this, or the word chaos is the perfect way to describe your homeschool, then take heart, friend, because today I'm sharing with you 4 tips for a better homeschool week. So I have really been looking forward to this week of our homeschool with a little bit of trepidation. If you watched my last video, then you know why. Instead of homeschooling in the afternoons, we're homeschooling in the mornings instead, which is a complete change to what we have been doing this entire school year. And yet I think it's gonna fit best in our lives this coming 2 weeks, which is one of the beautiful things about homeschool. You can adjust it to make it work really well for your lives. The next couple of weeks, I'm wanting to make some really big changes in our homeschool. And so I was a little anxious about it. And so I've been thinking a lot about how am I going to do this, make all of these changes without creating just this complete chaos in our homeschool. And so I sat down and decided 4 things that I've done in the past and that are tried and true, things that work if I'm looking at making some changes in our homeschool. So I'm going to share those tips with you today. So the first tip is to make a decision. So decide on what do you want your day to look like. And this is really key in a lot of areas of life, right? If we just go out and live our lives, then our circumstances or our emotions, other things will dictate our lives and will dictate our responses and just how we live. And so by deciding ahead of time, by being purposeful in deciding what do we want the day to look like, and maybe even more specifically, what do I want to be, or who do I want to be today? So whether that is, I know that I want to be a successful homeschooling mom. I know that I want to be a loving educator. I know that I want to be a nurturing homemaker. Like whatever the goal is for you, decide that. Write it down. This is my goal for today. This is the person that I want to be. So for me, it was I want to be a follower of Christ who communicates his truth to myself, my kids, and those around me. And that is who I want to be for this next week. Okay, so now that you've decided who you want to be, what you want to do, then next it's time to commit to that. When you wake up in the morning, some people call this intention, like to set an intention, but really it's just a commitment. You wake up in the morning and you say, today I commit myself to whatever you want to commit yourself to. And this doesn't have to be different every single day. It doesn't have to be the same every single day. I think sometimes it may change in the seasons of our lives and the different realms that God places us in as far as our responsibilities and our duties for the day. So this might be something like, today I want to commit to growing with my family, to growing our relationships. Or today I want to commit to being present with my family. These are all excellent commitments, but you get to fill in the blank for what you want to commit to for the day. And that just really helps to keep focused and to avoid the distractions, the hundreds of distractions that come across our path for the day. So tip number 3 is to prepare. When I've done this in the past, something that's been really helpful to me is to go back to the book Atomic Habits by James Clear. And he basically just writes down the steps, the things that it takes to make a new habit. And whenever things are out of control, or whenever I want to kind of rein in our lives and our habits, then, or make new habits, like in the next couple of weeks, I want to do something new or different, then I'm just going to go back to these, the basic framework of the foundation for creating a new habit. And those are to make it obvious, to make it attractive, to make it easy, and then to make it satisfying. So walking through those 4 things for our homeschool this coming couple of weeks would be to make it obvious. So I'm gonna set an alarm on my phone for the new time that I want to start our homeschool. And then I'm also gonna say, okay, so after breakfast, then we start school. So after this, then this. Kind of setting an anchor for the new habit is also important. So after making it obvious, then I'm gonna make it attractive. So if there are things that are coming up in the next couple of weeks that I'm not super excited about or just not looking forward to in our homeschool, then are there things that I can do to make it attractive? And so curling up with a book on the couch with my kids is so attractive to me. And so deciding, okay, we're going to start our homeschool maybe with some poetry, and maybe just in this big comfy chair, I'm gonna grab a poetry book and start our homeschool for the day, just all together reading a poem or a few poems for the day. And then we'll end our homeschool on the couch having a read aloud. And I mean, that sounds like an attractive homeschool day for me. And so that's the next thing, is to make it attractive. The third thing is to make it easy. So in order to make our homeschool easy, I'm going to set it up the night before. So we have been doing our homeschool in the afternoons, and it's not been a big deal for me to just run upstairs to the schoolroom a few minutes in the morning and to prep for the day. But because I'm gonna start first thing in the morning, then I need to make it an easy thing for us to start. I need to prep the night before. And so that's my intention, is to pull things out. I'm going to set out my books in an order with how we use them, and I'm gonna rip out the pages for my kids, the consumable pages that they use for the day. And I'm just gonna see if I can't set everything out ahead of time so that it's an easy thing for us to just dive into school right away in the morning. And the last part of preparing to make all of these adjustments is to make it satisfying. So I have my homeschool planner that I'm going to be checking off those boxes, and that is extremely satisfying to me. Also, planning out and keeping in mind the fun activities that I absolutely love doing that I have on the calendar to be doing with the kids. So knowing that we're working towards this the reward, it also makes it really satisfying for us to get our work done first and then get to go play together here for our homeschool. So the fourth tip then is to take action. So the thing you've decided and what you've committed to, and now all the prep work that you've done, it's time to take action. It's time to do the things that you've set yourself to do. And whether that action is just 5 minutes really matters. If you do poetry for 5 minutes, if you do a tidy for 5 minutes, if you do math for 5 minutes, whatever it is, 5 minutes really matters. And sometimes it just takes that initial 5 minutes to then get going. If you say, I'm committing to this for 5 minutes, that's all we need for forward motion in whatever we have in front of us. And so it's really important to have that action. The final step is one of the hardest here for the tips for having a better homeschool week. So because my husband is going to be gone for these 2 weeks, I am totally changing how our homeschool is scheduled. And so we are going to be homeschooling in the morning instead of the afternoon, because I have a lot of projects that I'm hoping to get done in the afternoons and the evenings. And so I don't think it's going to be terrible. I'm really excited about changing and having our homeschool in the morning, but I don't want it to just fall apart and be this chaotic mess where we're doing homeschool the entire day and we're not getting any projects done. And so I have implemented these 4 things, and I am going to check back in April and let you know how our homeschool goes during those 2 weeks of something completely different. But if you have any tips for a better homeschool week, leave them in the comment section below. I would love to have any of your suggestions that you have. And thanks so much for watching today. I will see you again in next week's video.